Chapter 20. Mr. Weber, I know you and your friends need the income, but these are two different matters. Terence Group shouldn't be the one paying for this. The veins on Samuel's head popped when he heard that. Just then, Emmanuel suddenly said, however, our boss empathizes with you and is willing to pay $3 million to be friends with all of you. What? Samuel's pupils dilated. He was moved by what he heard. Even his subordinates exchanged glances delightedly. They never expected the boss of Terence Group to be so particular. Alas, they were blissfully unaware Emmanuel had secretly reduced their payment. In fact, they were gladly calling Emmanuel their friend. It was a typical scenario of being grateful to someone who betrayed them. Very well. We shall be friends with Terence Group. Come on. Let's have a toast. Samuel gave Emmanuel a toast. It was clear the former had submitted himself to Emmanuel. Cheers. As a former soldier, Emmanuel had no fear of hard liquor. At the same time, Samuel's subordinates were loyal people. Seeing how generous Emmanuel was, they toasted and praised him for being a good person. Samuel grew wary as he watched Emmanuel down glass after glass of hard liquor with no problem. This man's not someone to be trifled with. We can only be friends, never enemies. Half an hour later, Mackenzie finally arrived at the Paradise and quickly got out of the car. Four professional bodyguards followed behind her. Her gaze was piercing, and her aura was domineering. When the men outside the nightclub caught sight of the beautiful woman with her entourage, they cleared a path and only watched her enter the building. She was a beauty with great power. Nonetheless, Mackenzie did not bother glancing at the bystanders and walked straight into the nightclub. She had never been so worried about someone, let alone a man. Even she found the situation unbelievable. Similarly, it was the bodyguards' first time seeing their indifferent CEO behaving like that. They could not help but wonder who she was there to save. In the next second, Mackenzie halted in her tracks and fixed her eyes on the two men exiting the entrance. Emmanuel had his arm across Sheldon's shoulder and a cigarette in his mouth. He was even having trouble walking straight. Not only was he injured, but he also drank over 20 glasses of imported wine that had 60% alcohol. Thus, it was only normal that he was walking like that. Sheldon was taken aback when he saw the beautiful woman with slender legs standing before him. He could neither tear his eyes away from her nor budge an inch the moment he saw her face. Never did he expect to find someone more beautiful than Elena. When Emmanuel saw Sheldon suddenly stop in his tracks, he slowly looked up and noticed Mackenzie's presence. He shuddered and sobered up a little. The two said nothing and merely stared at each other in silence. Although Sheldon was clueless about their relationship, he could read the room. Immediately, he backed away. In the meantime, the four bodyguards dared not approach without Mackenzie's order. Suddenly, Emmanuel lost his balance. Mackenzie instinctively rushed forward to help him up. That was when she felt the warmth of his body. At the same time, her nose picked up the stench of blood. He fought with others again. Aren't you afraid of death? Mackenzie chided, her brows knitted together. A bitter feeling crept into her heart. Am I not fine now? Emmanuel laughed out loud as relief washed over him. Mackenzie could not help but sigh at the state he was in. I honestly don't know what to do with him. I was just speaking mindlessly. I can't believe he actually went to such lengths because of what I said. The four bodyguards were absolutely confounded after witnessing their CEO holding Emmanuel up. They knew about Mackenzie's misandry, and she rarely shook hands with men. Hence, the sight of her holding up a man with one hand was a strange occurrence to them. Not only that, but Mackenzie even threw them a look, indicating for them to leave the next second. She still did not want Emmanuel to find out her real identity. Remember what you promised me. Once the project is a success, we have to go home to see my mom.